Hello everybody, welcome back to a brand new video, and today we're doing episode 19 of the Clinton Victory election series, going through the first term of Steve Novick's presidency. Last time he defeated Joni Ernst in the 2028 election, and now he is the first progressive, well, the first modern day progressive presidency, as well as the shortest presidency, and the first president to ever have dwarfism. Anyway, I will try to refrain myself from making short jokes this entire video. I know some of y'all would get offended by that. January 20th, 2029, we head into Novick being officially inaugurated. Steve Novick is being inaugurated as the new president of the United States. I believe the 48th president as of today. And here is Steve Novick's approval rating. As you can see here, he has 10% support amongst Republicans, 97% amongst Democrats, and 60% amongst the other voters, the independents, libertarians, and greens, etc., giving him a total support of 55%. He's got 55% total support and 42% total, opposition, 42% opposition, giving him a net approval of 13%, which is normal for a presidency coming into the White House. They have pretty high approval ratings on their first day, week, it's the honeymoon period. Taking a look at Steve Novick's cabinet, we have the Secretary of State being Dennis Bauer, Secretary of Treasury being Janet Yellen, Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin, the Attorney General Terry McAuliffe, Secretary of the Interior Garland Gilchrist, the Governor of Michigan, Secretary of Agriculture Tom Vilsack, Secretary of Commerce Gregory Meeks, Secretary of Labor, Susan Wild. The Secretary of Health of Human Services is Xavier Becerra. Secretary of Housing is the former Governor of Michigan, Gretchen Whitmer. The Secretary of Transportation is Deval Patrick. The Secretary of Energy is South Carolina Senator Mandy Norell. The Secretary of Education is Miguel Cardona. Secretary of Veterans Affairs is Dennis McDonough. Secretary of Homeland Security is Ariana Freeman. The Budget Director, Shalonda Young. The Business Administrator, the Small Business Administrator, is Trish Ranson. The White House Chief of Staff to Steve Novick is Jeff Zients. The Press Secretary is Fariel Govashidi. The UN Ambassador is Becca Balint, the Vermont Senator. The Science and Tech Advisor is Arati Prabhakar. That's a hard name to pronounce. The Economic Council Chair is Jared Bernstein. The EPA Administrator is Brenda Mallory. The Trade Representative is Antony Blinken, the Deputy Secretary of State under the Obama administration. The CIA Director is Stacey Dixon, and the Intelligence Director is Paul Nakasone. Now heading into February 12th of 2029, President Novick has signed criminal justice reform, a big win for the Novick administration. However, he did have to pull a lot of strings, a lot of negotiation with the Republican Senate majority, as they have 54 seats as signing this legislation, so a lot of negotiation had to be done. So this is a new bit I'm doing for this series, which kind of breaks down what you see in the bill. So mandatory minimum sentencing is pretty much gone. It's revoked for nonviolent crimes. So for future sentencing, there is no longer a mandatory minimum sentencing for nonviolent crimes. Rehabilitation for nonviolent crime offenders. The death penalty has been banned nationwide under President Novick. There is a reform of lethal force standards among police. There's also a mandatory nationwide use for police body cams. This is something that was not originally in the original bill, but police funding has been put in it thanks to Republicans, as $500 million in funding is going to the police. There is a federal oversight of private prisons. I guess let's talk about that quite a bit. There's funding for educational as well as educational and vocational training in prisons for, prisoners and such who don't commit violent crimes. There is increased opportunities for non-violent offenders to be set free very early, more so than there is now. There is federal funding for drug rehab centers as well as funding for victim support services. I know progressives will be happy with a lot of this, and it's still a bill that, would get enough Republicans, which would be 4 plus the VP tiebreaker, to pass. Heading into March 12th of 2029, Justice Sonia Sotomayor will retire, and she is a liberal justice, so Steve Novick will get his first chance to appoint a new justice. And a lot of you might not be happy with this, but about a week later, progressives won't be happy as Novick appoints Josh Stein, the former Attorney General of North Carolina to the Supreme Court, which, if you think about it politically, it's a very smart move. Josh Stein is a very a safe pick for liberals, as he would just be a mostly party line or ideological line vote for liberals. So Novick isn't really picking a bad choice here with Josh Stein. August 1st, 2029, a measles outbreak hits Pennsylvania as a huge outpour of individuals who have conducted, or not conducted, but have contracted measles. Reports are high out of the state of Pennsylvania, as it's typically 1,200 per year. In the span of a few months, it's been 60,000, which is not a good thing if you know how bad measles is. August 10th, 2029, President Novick does go to the state of Pennsylvania to meet up with the governor, Josh Shapiro, amidst the measles outbreak. And after this, we are expecting, outpouring of measles vaccines to hit Pennsylvania before it, spreads to other states such as New York, New Jersey, etc. It is November 6th, 2029, and we can now have election results out of New Jersey's governor race. We can project that Stephen Sweeney will be elected to a second term as the governor of New Jersey, going on to defeat Bill Spadea by around 6 percentage points. Very narrow election in the state of New Jersey, but Sweeney will be elected nonetheless. Out of Virginia's governor race, Abigail Spanberger will be elected by a huge margin in the state of Virginia. She will be elected as governor of the state, defeating Jason Mayorkas, a state senator, by around 14 points. December 12th, 2029, we can now say that the measles outbreak is starting to begin to die down, as the, manufacture or the shipping of the measles vaccine to the state of Pennsylvania, and people starting to get the vaccine, as, Novick and Shapiro are letting it be free for everybody, so there's no charge to it. People are starting to get the vaccine. Of course, there are some skeptics, as always, but it's not that large of a number to really push back on if the measles outbreak would be still a threat because of, a handful of people. So the outbreak is starting to die down. It's no longer that big of a threat by this point. April 30th, 2030, and Justice Elena Kagan is retiring from her seat, which gives President Novick another chance to nominate a younger face of the Supreme Court. And on May 7th, 2030, he does just that, as he nominates the governor of Maryland, Tom Perez, to the Supreme Court. This one's a lot more of an establishment pick, as of course he's expected to get a lot of support, and he does need 4 Republicans to vote for him, which is pretty simple, as Josh Stein got passed to the Supreme Court relatively easily. July 7th, 2030, as you can see, riots have broken out in the state of Texas over the tax policies there, as taxes in the state of Texas has increased due to the governor, Julian Castro. Multiple tax increases, as of course the tax increases have risen under Castro by 13%, as of course prices have risen, wages have dropped. It's not good, and the response is riots. January 29th, 2031, President Novick has signed amnesty legislation, to the horror of right-wing Republicans, as it was barely passed 50-50, as 4 moderate Republicans voted for the legislation. You can already tell there's some primary challenges waiting for them. And here is the amnesty immigration bill. Non-violent undocumented immigrants automatically apply for citizenship. There is border security funding, which, this seems more like something a moderate Republican would create to appeal the hard right, which you'll see why in a second. But border security funding. The bill also increases the presence of ICE at the border. There is now a nationwide E-Verify system, which you can tell progressives are a bit peeved at that. This strengthens interior enforcement of deportation for violent undocumented immigrants. So if an undocumented immigrant, or an illegal immigrant, as they should be called, is violent, there is a quicker response to get them out of our country. It keeps families together despite deportation, so we're not putting kids in cages or microwaves, because that's what the Biden administration's doing. Bet you didn't know that. Fun fact. It also increases DACA protections. So that's a progressive one right there. It reduces the visa backlog, so we can get more people apply to citizenship faster. We reform the system to allow more leniency for people seeking asylum. And of course, refugee resettlement, putting more steps into that. So progressives get some wins. Republicans get some wins. and the hard right is pissed as all hell. June 9th, 2031, and Justice Merrick Garland has decided he's going to be retiring from the Supreme Court, giving Novick a third year in a row to nominate a new Supreme Court justice. And on July 6, 2031, he does this, nominating the governor of New Jersey, Stephen Sweeney, to the Supreme Court. Kind of an odd pick. People are kind of hoping for a younger person, but who cares? November 4th, 2031, we have the 2031 off-year elections. Robbie Mills has been elected the governor of Kentucky. Lieutenant Governor Mills has been elected governor of Kentucky as he goes on to defeat Adam Edeline by 19 points. Going on to Louisiana, the Secretary of State of Louisiana will be projected to win here, as well as Nelson will go on to defeat Cedric Richmond by 14 points. Going on to Mississippi, Robert Foster, the Lieutenant Governor of Mississippi, has been elected governor as he goes on to defeat Jim Hood by 14 points as well. June 2nd, 2032, as the justice appointed by Trump, Terry Moore, he has passed away, sadly. Our condolences go with his family, etc. But Novick will get another chance to appoint a new justice, and this actually might sway the balance of power on the Supreme Court, as the conservatives only had 5 seats before Moore passed away. June 5th, 2032, surprise, the Senate GOP has pledged to block any Supreme Court nomination heading into the 2032 election. As you can see here, the Senate Majority Leader and Whip, Marco Rubio and Rand Paul, looking like they know what they just did. Because, you know, they did really good wonders to Merrick Garland in the real-life timeline. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. This is the Chaotic One saying, peace.